Hello and welcome back to the Coming of Cage podcast, your Nicolas Cage movie review podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Derek, and your other host, Ryan, is right over there.
Right over there is where I am. Yes, ready to review this movie.
Yes, episode 73 of our show is our 72nd Nicolas Cage movie. We are talking Bangkok Dangerous from 2008, not to be confused with the 2000 movie of the exact same name from the exact same director.
That's right.
Directors, brothers.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So
had you seen this movie before this?
no, the poster has been burned into my brain because of how terrible the poster is, but I never seen the movie.
I had seen a couple scenes of it
Mm.
that had popped up when we were looking through channels, flipping through channels. It was on something, and I had seen a couple scenes, but I didn't really know much about it. So we're on pretty even playing field there.
How did you feel about the poster?
It's fine.
You don't think his
I
hand
don't
looks
really.
insane?
Well, I guess I'm looking at a different poster,
Oh,
but
maybe.
um, you know, I, I I don't pay that much attention to posters. I know you're more of a poster guy than I am, so
I am
if
because
it's really bad, then maybe I would notice. But I mean, this one doesn't. From what the one I'm looking at is not that much different, or
no,
not that bad compared to anything else.
the one on IMDb that's like first up is fine. There's one that's just him on the cover wielding this gun, and it's kind of like the second one on IMDb, but his hand is just so clearly not attached to his body. And when these movies are given millions and millions of dollars, which this one was, I just find it frustrating when the poster looks like it was slapped
Yeah, I
together
see
over
the one that you're
lunch.
talking about, but I mean, the thing is, having watched this movie, there was zero budget for this movie anyway, so I can't imagine they had really like a high poster
It's reported that the budget was
budget.
45 million.
Okay, well, if that's the case, then 43 million of that went to Nicolas Cage because there was no way they spent $2 million on this movie.
Oh my God, that's funny. All right. Well, that, I mean,
I'm serious. If
yeah,
they gave us $2 million or $45 million so we could spend 43 million on Nicolas Cage, I can't imagine that we would come up with a worse movie than this.
wow, you
There
really
were some
disliked it
things.
that much.
No, I'm being that maybe I'm being a little. There were things I really liked about this movie, but we can dig into that a little bit. But I don't think that it never came across as a high budget movie.
That's fair. Yeah, I wouldn't call it that. No. Well, for those who do not know, this action crime thriller is about, quote, a hitman who's in Bangkok to pull off a series of jobs, violates his personal code when he falls for a local woman and bonds with his errand boy.
That's right. He doesn't fall for the errand boy and bond with a local woman. It's
No,
quite the
flip that,
opposite. Yeah, flip it.
reverse it. Yeah. I mean, that's basically what the movie's about. It's a
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really
reasonable,
get much deeper than that.
no, not really. Well, let's talk about your notes, Ryan. Did you take any?
I did. I took some notes like I usually do on these. We kind of go chronologically if you haven't listened before. Thank
Welcome.
you. Thank you for listening. I'm not sure why you picked this specific movie, but we're happy to have you. I usually take notes chronologically through the movie and we just kind of go through, you know, whatever. Sometimes I take notes based on plot points or things that I find interesting. So we just kind of go through it. Right at the beginning, we had three title screens.
Mhm.
So that's exciting. We always note the number of title screens because the more indie the movie is, the more title screens it has.
That's right. Saturn was involved, though.
Saturn is
Nick's
always
film
involved, it
company
seems like, if it's a moderately independent film.
from this century.
Yes, since the creation of Saturn, yeah. We get a title screen that says Prague right away, and we get a Nicolas Cage voiceover, which is on our bingo card. So that's immediate. You're gonna get a lot of notes that are just bingo card things because this movie had a crap ton of bingo card hits for us.
Lots of squares.
Almost everything. We get, oh my God, we get the first. I say the first because there's several gun assembly scenes, which certain directors have such a hard on for gun assembly scenes, and I just don't get it. Like, it's fine, maybe
Yeah.
once, but why do we need multiple gun assembly scenes in the same movie?
My assumption is that movie makers think the general public will assume a person must be an expert marksman if they know how to
But couldn't they just
disassemble.
show the person being an expert marksman without having like I'm just gonna go out on a limb here. That seems like the better way if you're trying to show somebody something is to just show them rather than show them assembling the thing that they will then use to be the thing you want them to be.
It costs more though. You know, you can to assemble a gun, you just need a shot of a table somewhere, right? Versus if to actually show them do it, you need like a set with people and special effects.
I'm almost tempted to put it on the bingo card too at some point. Assembles a weapon of some kind because either he's done it in several movies. Probably not
Yeah,
quite enough for it to be a bingo card square at this point, but he has done it in multiple movies.
he's done it. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's up on like a roof, and then he's watching somebody across the street that's been
Mhm.
arrested by the police in Prague. And apparently in Prague, their interrogation rooms have windows where
Big
you can
ones.
clearly see the person being interrogated uh,
Clear as day.
right across right across from the window and across from a tall building on the opposite side. Without bulletproof glass, no bulletproof glass.
Nothing.
Which I thought
Yeah.
was that's an interesting design choice from Prague. I'm gonna guess that's probably not how it actually is.
I'd be surprised.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that's not
That's what they
realistic.
call movie magic.
Yes, that's what they call plot magic. Yeah, if they need it to work for the plot. And there's a lot of that in this movie.
There's a bit. There's a bit.
Yeah. I thought that was an interesting choice. We got that he shoots the guy. So then we get bingo card for Nick Cage shoots a gun and bingo card for he's a criminal. So those are two separate spaces. That was good.
Yeah.
Uh, I think at this point he goes to Thailand because
Hmm.
he leaves. He's like going through his rules of being a hitman, what he was always taught. It's weird because he talks about like what he was taught, but there's no real backstory for him except that somebody taught him these things about being a hitman. Like he went to Hitman Academy or something, and that's these
Top
are
of
the
his
rules.
class.
Yeah, where they taught him all these rules. That in my head, I guess I was picturing it like some mysterious stranger that was teaching him all this, and it was a job that was
Mhm.
handed down to him.
Like he
But
tries to do later in the movie.
yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
it's never we don't get any context for these rules or anything. These rules are basically like if you get attention, leave. Don't form any attachments and burn everything to the fucking ground when you go so that there's no evidence.
Yeah. We before he leaves Prague though, we do get to see him take out his first errand boy.
Oh yeah, he kills the person that he was utilizing as an
It's
errand boy in
dark.
Prague.
It's pretty heavy how that goes down. I mean, this clearly the idea here is he is not a good dude
Right. I mean,
when the movie begins.
he's not a mean person necessarily, but he is a criminal that has a code
He's
that
not
he goes by.
nice.
He is nice later in the movie. I mean,
Later, yeah, later he's nice.
to
When
people.
he breaks his rules, he becomes
Sure.
nice.
I
Yeah.
don't think he's being specifically mean in the beginning. He just is doing his job by his guidelines. And yes, that involves killing people, which is not generally a nice thing, but he's not doing it because he hates this person or because he wants to be mean. He's doing it because that's what he does.
I understand. Yeah,
Um,
I got you.
so when he goes to Thailand, he's like pretending to be an American tourist, and he has this amazing like tropical shirt on. It's such a sharp transition from Prague, where he's wearing like a John Wick suit or something like that, to Thailand, where now he's wearing this like flowery tropical shirt,
Hmm.
but he still has like the full hitman haircut, you
Well, because
know?
he has to kind of, case the area, scope
Right.
it out, blend in. I don't know if he's really
Yes.
blending in that shirt, but
And while he's walking around, he's just kind of scoping things out and seeing if there's any people he could use to help him get through because he relies on other people to do this job.
mhm.
It's not a solo job. And he spots this guy that's conning tourists. He specifically sees the guy like trying to talk to tourists and then cutting with a razor blade the bottom of their fanny pack and taking the wallet out because he knew exactly where the wallet was,
It was smooth. It's smooth. What do I know? I don't know.
I guess. Um,
I wouldn't keep my wallet there, so
but he
whatever.
goes and talks to this guy who, in the middle of the night, is wearing sunglasses. So, Corey Hart style.
You got a problem with sunglasses at night, Ryan?
Obviously not. I just notating the fact that it's an interesting character choice.
Yeah.
But his name is Kong,
Hmm.
and Nick offers him 2,000 baht a week to work for him, basically. And then he tries to get 5,000, and there's like this whole negotiation thing.
Hmm.
And we get like these scenes where he's basically telling the guy if he does this, then he won't get paid. And if he does this, he won't get paid. If he does this, he won't get paid. And it's a little redundant after a while. I get that he's trying to teach his kids something, but yeah.
Just for those curious, because I was kind of curious, 2,000 baht is about 58 US dollars. Just for
I
perspective,
think he negotiates him up to 3,000.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after Nick kind of describes the job, and tells him that he needs him to go pick up. He basically tells him to take this briefcase or go to this club, give this woman a specific currency that has a big red X on it, show the red X to her, and then she'll give him a suitcase, and he is to bring it right back to Nicolas Cage, with no stopping. And the guy's like, "What if I need to pee?" And Nick's like, "Stop
Don't.
asking questions, or you don't get paid." But
There's
then
a lot of that.
when he's walking away, I don't know where you watched it, but my subtitles said that he called Nick Cage a duck fucker.
Yes, he did. That's what
Okay,
mine
so
said.
that wasn't just me,
Yeah. No,
which
I
is
actually
funny.
have it on DVD.
Okay.
So that's what it's the official subtitle say.
Okay, because later, like not that much later, less than 5 minutes later, he tells somebody to fuck a duck underneath his breath. So I do not know what this guy's deal is, or if this is some sort of Thai,
It
like
might be.
local saying, but hey, there's a lot of duck fucking and referencing to it happening in this
Yeah.
movie. There's
Yeah.
200% more duck fucking in this movie via wordplay than there is in any other Nick Cage movies that we've watched thus far.
And sadly, no actual on screen.
I I don't agree with the sadly part because I'm not sure what you're into, but I mean, yeah, man, you
Uh,
do you. I'm not here to yuck your yum.
no,
Um,
that was definitely very funny.
so he talks about when he's talking about his rules and stuff, how he needs to blend in, not stand out. So he immediately goes and buys a bright yellow motorcycle,
Yeah.
which is what you do when you're an assassin, apparently, that needs to
To be
blend in.
fair, he buys like four motorcycles.
I think he buys two. I mean, it shows four, but he only ever uses two. One is the yellow one that he rides, and then he gives the other guy later in the movie the black one. But why
Yeah.
wouldn't he ride the black one and
Because
give
he's
the
so
bright
good.
yellow? It just doesn't make any sense.
Maybe it makes it easier for him to find it. He can't remember where he parked.
Yeah. So up to this point in this movie, there's been a piece of jewelry that Nick Cage wears specifically that is shown in a very close up shot multiple times up
Hmm.
to this point and is shown even more throughout the movie and is actually Nick Cage gifts Kong one of these by the in the middle or early parts of the movie, and that is a specific watch. And this watch, if you Google it, you can't find a mention of it that doesn't have the title of Bangkok Dangerous in either the sale listing or description of the watch or something, because
Yeah.
that is the only thing this watch is known for,
It's an
apparently.
interesting watch. The Ventura VTech Sigma.
Yes. And you can get one for yourself from somewhere between $600 to $1,000, depending on where you go. Um,
That's pretty
it,
good. I didn't see any that low.
oh, I saw multiple that low. So,
I've seen them
um,
in the 900s and above, but
yeah, you could definitely get them for that price too. But
but
yeah, they're fine. I mean, they're a very specific style choice. And apparently the people that made this movie were very like into that watch, and they had to use it in this movie. And that's not unusual. There are like a history of watches being used in movies, which I'm not knowledgeable enough to get into, but comes to mind like Alien and
Hmm.
those kind of movies had very specific watch designs in them meant to mirror the movie. And this doesn't really mirror anything in the movie. I didn't really ever feel like it was an extension of his character. It's kind of like a futuristic looking watch.
Yeah, my only thought about it is that like maybe, and I don't know anything about the real watch. Maybe it's supposed to keep like really accurate time because that keeps coming up about being on time, don't be late, yada yada yada. And he's always, we always see that watch like counting down to the moment that he has to do a thing or whatever.
Sure.
Um,
And I'm
I don't know.
on board with that, but I don't know why that watch specifically. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
for me, it just doesn't really like add anything. It would seem like any watch you could look at and get the time or get, see how much time you had. A lot of digital watches have counter or timers, so
Oh
it's
no,
not like
yeah. I more meant that like maybe this like there's those watches out there that are like, there's atomic watches or like whatever. They're supposed to be more accurate than standard digital watches,
I guess,
you know?
yeah. I
And
mean,
so
I was more talking about stylistically. I don't really see why it would be.
yeah,
It didn't really add anything.
it's a strange watch. I like it. It's very much something that I would really like. I'm not gonna spend $1,000 for it, but I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I could see like having adding it to like I have a few watches from movies, and I could see adding that if it was cheaper. But yeah, it's way too expensive. It's not really that. I don't know. It's not a style that I could ever really see myself wearing outside of for if I'm going to a pop culture convention or something. You know.
You don't want to have your Bangkok Dangerous cosplay.
No, no, I'm good. It would just be a black t-shirt and jeans, I guess.
Perfect.
Um, Yes, and so that watch, I don't think I have any more references to it in my notes, but it just is shown constantly throughout the movie.
Hmm.
They really, really wanted to show that watch. I don't know if Benzura ended up sponsoring this movie and that's why they did that,
That's
but
interesting. Yeah.
so some point during this first part of the movie, he gets cut on his arm. He gets like some big something happens. I don't know. Do you remember exactly
Yeah,
how he got the
there's this
cut?
little kid selling something, and he sees the kid earlier before he goes and does the job, and then on his way back, he like accidentally swipes where the kid is, and cuts his arm.
Right. And this cut changes multiple, like it looks like a totally different cut between different shots.
That's
I mean,
fair.
ridiculous. Um, yeah, but he goes to the pharmacy in Thailand and immediately there's two pharmacists in there. One seems completely to be normally abled. The other one is deaf.
Hmm.
And the deaf one immediately walks over to him
It's
and
called
he's
a meet cute, Ryan.
and he starts talking to her, and she just stands there staring at him.
She likes him.
Sure. I never really got the vibe that she liked him that much.
Really?
Later in the movie, maybe, but at this point, no. I mean, I
Okay.
just saw that she was trying to be helpful to a customer. But
Now
he,
she went
sh
over to help him very, very quickly and was seemingly enamored with him, and later vice versa.
no, if anything, he seemed more enamored with her. But
I mean, that's fair, but I still think she was.
anyway, he's trying to clean up this cut, and he realizes after about 5 minutes of talking at her that she's deaf. And so eventually he just like lifts his arm and flexes his bicep and shows her where the gun shows at and just kind of points to the cut on it, which is on his kind of his shoulder upper bicep area. And so she like gets this bottle of pills that they just keep out on the shelf there. It looks like prescription pills. Like it's in a holder for prescription pills kind of thing, but it's just sitting out on the shelf. Maybe that's how they do it there. But
We do handle
she's
medication oddly in the US.
right. And she speaks sign language, but he doesn't. So she's trying to communicate to him that he needs to take one in the morning and one at night. So after like 2 minutes of fumbling with the morning, trying to figure out one in the morning, when she does the signal for like putting her hands together and lays her head on her hands, he goes, night, one at night. And I was like, "Oh, you got it, buddy. I'm so proud of you." Because he's saying it like it's this really difficult thing to figure out, and it was not. It was the easiest charade ever.
Well, maybe this is supposed to also showcase his lack of social skills from being so disconnected from people, because he makes a point about how, like, if he doesn't go out enough, the human race starts to look alien to him,
They do say that. That's true. Yeah,
right?
that's
And
true.
so maybe
Maybe
this is like the first, like, not serious man conversation he's had in like a year,
could be. Yeah, it's true.
right? Because to Kong, he's like very cold and, direct the whole, at the beginning,
Yeah,
right? And he's clearly very different the moment he walks into that pharmacy. Like, the person in the pharmacy is probably more the real him that we, are finally getting to see. And so, yeah, I think he's just fumbling.
probably. Um, so around this time, Kong is supposed to be delivering a briefcase to Nick Cage, and he gets jumped by some dudes, and by like four or five guys. They
Yeah.
start beating the shit out of him, and they take the case and smash it up against the thing, trying to open it. We don't really ever see it open, but apparently we find out later that it is open and that Kong Saul was in it, but it doesn't look like it ever. It looked like he tried to smash it and then stopped because, uh, whatever. But
Yeah. I'm okay just saying, all right, fine, it broke open. I don't know when he would have looked at what was
right, because he
inside.
immediately ran.
Yeah.
But so during this fight, he's getting on the ground, getting like kicked in the traditional like guy getting the shit beat out of him scene. But he pulls out a knife and like spins in a circle like a Ninja Turtle on its shell and is slashing everybody's legs.
So that was your favorite scene then.
It was something. I mean, it was really something. And so he's literally like going around and multiple times slashing people's legs. And then he gets up and runs away, but they chase him.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he didn't do a really good job cutting their legs.
No, it's just a flesh wound.
Just a flesh wound. Yeah, he wasn't the Black Knight. They just got like little scratches from this knife, apparently.
It
And he
was
give
through like pants and stuff.
I guess. I mean,
It
geez,
was probably
sharpen
more
that thing.
shocking than really damaging.
Apparently. But they made it seem like he was doing something, and then they immediately start chasing him.
Yeah.
But he gets back to Nick Cage's place and hands him the briefcase, and he's all fucked up. I mean, his face is beaten in and like, scratched up. And Nick is like, what's going on there? And he's like, oh, I got jumped. And they opened your case, but I took it from him and got it for you. I got it back for you. And he keeps emphasizing that he got it back for him. And so Nick asked him if he saw what was in it or something like that. The guy's like, yeah, there's a picture of a bad man in there. He's a really bad man. And Nick at this point has already killed one guy, and he's there for four people. We
Yeah.
didn't cover that. He's there for four people. He's trying to do this last job so he can retire. So he's killed one of the four, and he's working on the second one at this point.
Yeah. The first one is before he cuts his arm. That cutting his arm's right after it.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, the first guy got killed because you were using the yellow motorcycle and shot him through the windshield while he was driving around, and then ran away. But he still keeps using the same yellow motorcycle for all the crimes, which seems like a problem. But what do I know about hitmanning? So Nick tells Kong to go get a beer to help with the swelling. And so immediately Kong goes to the fridge and opens the beer and starts drinking it and then holds it up to his face. And while he like starts holding it up to his face, Nick jumps up behind him with a knife and holds it to his throat and is seemingly going to kill him. But Nick decides not to. He's talked out of it. But Kong said he wanted to be like him, wanted to be like Nick Cage, and wanted to be able to help the world and do good things or whatever. Because apparently he thinks hitmen only kill bad people. And so
like, that's not gonna maybe come up later in the movie.
maybe. Well, Nick immediately starts teaching him knife defense by attacking him with the knife and telling him to defend it.
He does a pretty good job, Kong, all things
Yeah,
considered.
kind of an unbelievably good job because he didn't get us because Nick seemed to be going full speed and power. It was a weird scene, weirdly weird scene.
And correct me if I'm wrong about this, but the gang or whatever that jumps Kong, that's never resolved,
No,
right?
we have
Okay.
no idea who they are, why they want him, and they just know he owes them money. But we never hear anything from them again.
Okay, cool.
So then we get Woman on Top Sex,
Ding.
not with Nick Cage though. It's with his next hit.
Target.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we see that, and then we get a pool scene where there's nudity.
Mhm.
So that's fun. Uh, and then so Nick is like he's in the house looking for this guy who is not in the house. He's expecting him to be in bed, but he is not in bed. And so Nick has to kind of improvise. And so this is when we get what I like to nicely call the Nick from the Black Lagoon, where he somehow, somewhere sneaks into the pool and does a full underwater assassination of this guy.
This to me is definitely the most ridiculous part of the movie.
This is in the top five most ridiculous scenes of any Nick Cage movie we've watched so far, I'm pretty sure.
He it's like he's this silent killer. Like he doesn't we don't
He's
see
wearing a full black, he's wearing like a full black suit. And
right.
so you should be able to see him in the water because it's like a lit pool.
I mean, he's not wearing breathing gear from
No.
anything that we get to see. We have no idea where he gets in and out of the pool. Like, how big is this freaking pool? Because to be fair, when the guy does die, we see him floating down, and I don't know if it's supposed to be like one of those artsy
Oh yeah,
shots.
it made it look like it was a 40-foot deep pool.
This is the biggest fucking pool ever.
Yeah, and also the pool is a totally different shape than it is when they show it earlier. So clearly that like body sinking scene they went to like a community pool for, whereas they like filmed the other stuff at somebody's like house.
But they keep cutting to this. There's a topless woman on like a
Yeah, and you
lounge
see
chair
her with her boobs out like four times,
over and over again,
unnecessary amount of times.
and then some like I guess guard guy, like some security dude, and they just
Who's
keep
apparently
cutting.
doing nothing.
These two are completely oblivious to this whole thing going on. How big could this pool possibly be that you don't know? Because this was a bigger dude, just disappear. He just
Yeah, he goes
vanished.
underwater, and so Nick is underwater for an undetermined amount of time, but he's down there long enough that he can pull another human being down and strangle them to death, which involves suffocating, cutting off their airway so that they can't breathe and can't like lose oxygen
Mhm.
and die. But
Mhm.
he's fine holding his breath that long and swims away and gets away with it.
I'm so bothered by like there were three people at this pool in the middle of a quiet night, and one of them gets sucked underwater, and the other two just don't notice.
It's very strange. Also, why does the body sink?
Uh-huh.
Don't bodies usually float?
Uh-huh. I mean,
I don't.
maybe Nick fed him pebbles, and we
I
didn't see
think
that
I think
happen.
you're right in that it's a like artsy shot because after he kills him, yeah, it shows a shot from lower in the pool, presumably still not the bottom, but it looks like we're 14 feet
It's
down,
such a
and this
weird.
body is just sinking past the camera.
It's
So
very weird because like up until this point, we've seen him kill two people, and it's all seemed very calculated, very planned,
yeah,
meticulous, even, right? Because like in the second kill, right, it's all about like timing these street light things and all of that. This one, he just assumes the dude's gonna be in his bed after a certain time, gets it wrong, right, and almost like kills some random woman we don't know, and then I guess gets lucky that the dude is out at the pool and he can sneak in. Like it just seems that all kind of just like was luck, not planning and expertise.
yeah, agreed. But well, there was some expertise there in the fact that he had apparently been training at Olympic levels for holding his breath for a certain amount of time and being able to stay underwater, you know, which takes some effort. You can't just like
Oh yeah.
it's hard to just stay underwater because your body wants to float up.
It's all
But
very
yeah,
weird. It's a strange sequence.
yeah. My next note is actually a positive one because they actually had someone on set that knew something about martial arts because
Hmm.
they are doing Nick and Kong are doing a drill called Chi Sao, which is a Wing Chun drill, roughly translated to sticky hands, which is a drill where you're supposed to you put your wrists next to your opponent's wrists, and the goal is to push the other person off balance while maintaining contact. And the idea is that you're supposed to feel the person's energy and work to counter the person's energy. And it's a training exercise. And it's not one I see a ton of in movies, at least not done in a realistic way. And they did do it in this movie. So big kudos to whoever was showing that. I thought it was interesting. Wing Chun is not something you see a ton in movies. Not you see a good amount of it, but not necessarily the training drills like that for it. So I was pretty impressed that they showed that because most of the other martial arts stuff that he's showing is less good or less realistic. Uh, it's just
Yeah.
assumed that he's an expert martial artist, an expert marksman, which we will get to later because maybe not as much as we think he is, and an expert sword fighter and an expert Olympic swimmer that can hold his breath for 12 minutes.
Again, we get very little
Um,
backstory. So
with yeah, I mean, we get nothing. He's basically an expert at everything. Um, so then he goes back to the pharmacist, not because he needs something, but because he wants to ask her out to dinner. And I did have a little bit of an issue, but I do think you've already kind of explained it away for me. But a lot of the times when he's talking to this pharmacist, he keeps raising the volume of his voice when he's talking to her as
yeah,
if she's going to be able to now hear him. But
it
I
is a
think
common like mistake people make.
it is, and it just I don't know. I just hate it. But also you
Yeah.
explain, that he doesn't deal a lot with people, and that's true. They do make a point to say that people become kind of alien. So yeah, I that explains that away from me, but I did find it in the moment a little distracting.
Yeah,
I know it's a common thing, but a guy
yeah.
that's as well read and trained as him would not be doing that, I don't think.
No, I think it's got to be just a combination of his experience and nerves. It's a first date. For all we know, he hasn't been on a date in 20 years.
Or more. Ever.
Right? Or ever, right? We have no idea when this started for him, right? So for all we know, he's never asked a woman out before.
Yeah.
And he's just to him, that's the scary thing to do. You
Yeah.
know. I don't know.
So one thing we haven't talked much about, but it's been shown several times in this is so when we did talk about the pickups, but we didn't talk about where the pickup happens. So
Mm.
Kong goes and takes these bills to a specific dancer at a what is apparently a high-end club
Yeah.
in Bangkok. But what even is this club? Have you seen anything like that ever?
No, but again, like it's hard for me because I've never been to Thailand. I haven't really watched any Thai films as
For
far as I
somebody,
know.
I've watched Thai films, but not necessarily like this one. And I mean, it's just from someone in America, for both of us that's never been to Thailand. This is a very alien kind of club. It's, when we think clubs, we think like nightclub. We think like guys and girls, or guys and guys and girls, or whatever. We see couples dancing and like, like neon and lasers. But this club is like 50 women in skimpy clothing, just kind of dancing in unison up on like multiple layers of stage.
Hmm.
And presumably based on what we see in the movie, guys can just like walk up and pull them off stage to do I don't know.
I mean,
I
we
don't know
never
enough
really,
about the context of this club.
right. I mean, we never see them do any more than just like
Well, we see them
talking.
making out
I guess yeah, that's true.
later.
But I guess for me, it didn't seem too crazy because I mean we've seen plenty of Nick Cage movies where it's just like tons of nudity and strippers and stuff like
Sure, but
that. And
those are
so
strip clubs. This isn't shown like it's a strip club or anything
no,
like that. It looks just like a bunch of women dancing on stage, not stripping.
right.
But like a huge amount of women. That I think that was
Yeah.
what was so shocking was that it was just like 30, 40, 50 women all dancing on these stages.
Yeah,
And really there weren't that many attendees there watching. It seemed like there was more women than there were like people watching. Because
maybe it's not like a big night, He went on
when
like a
Kong
Tuesday.
when Kong walks up, this one dancer he like immediately is catching they're immediately making eye contact, even though there's other guys and everything else. I don't It was a weird thing for me. Maybe it's a real thing in Bangkok, and that's interesting. I mean, it was at the very least it was interesting.
It's
Visual
certainly different.
it definitely brought a different visual than what we're used to in some of these movies, I
Hmm.
thought. So and the relationship with the dancer was somewhat interesting, although again, it's very light. We don't really know he's shown to be interested in her. He buys her earrings and stuff
Hmm.
like that, but really it's not explored at all, other than a few fleeting moments when he's making deliveries or pickups.
Yeah, I mean, as far as we know, they've never even been on like an actual date by the end of the movie.
Yeah,
She does seem like kind of into him. She likes the earrings, for example, that kind of thing. But I mean, it could, be that trope of like, the strippers into me kind of thing.
right,
I
exactly.
have no idea if that's what they were going for or not.
Well, at this point, they're setting up the third target, and so this particular time when he goes to the club, first of all, I know you're a car guy. Did you notice anything interesting when he came out of the club this time in the parking
No.
lot?
Uh-uh.
There was a bright red Mark IV Supra.
Was there?
Oh
Oh
yeah, because
man.
you could see the taillights. I paused it and rewound it, and I was like, "Oh my God!" Because this movie was in 2008,
Yeah.
and so that wouldn't have been like a new car when the movie came out. I mean, they sold them in Japan for longer than they sold them in the United States, so it would have been newer, but it's not. It wouldn't have been a common car, but it
Yeah.
was definitely interesting seeing that in the parking lot of a Thai nightclub.
No, that is. I totally missed it.
But yeah, it was a shot from the back. It was beautiful, bright red. Anyway, non-car people are like, "Why are you talking about this?" Because it's cool. Okay, shut up. Um, so the it cuts to him leaving the club. Nick Cage is on the date simultaneously with this pharmacist, and so
Hmm.
he's eating spicy food, like Thai food, and
So
she's
funny.
just laugh. It was a funny scene. She's just laughing at him because he's like literally dripping with sweat, and that trope of I'm a tough guy, so I gotta hide it. But then she gives him like a leaf and signals for him to eat it, and so he eats it, and he talks about how much better he feels now, and so then he eats more and eats more leaves, and she eventually gives him the whole plant.
I am
Um,
curious what that is.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't
I'm
know.
assuming it's like mint or something. But
Maybe.
so then they're walking together, and this baby elephant, comes up behind them, and with a guy like selling the fruit. Like he wants you to buy the fruit
Hmm.
so that you can feed the elephant.
Right.
He's double dipping, he's getting that money. Do you know what that fruit was? We thought
No.
maybe plantains, but they were bigger than or not plantains. Is that what the little banana things are called?
No, the little ones have a different name. Plantains are kind of
Bigger.
they're like bigger than bananas. Uh,
Yeah. I don't know
Small
what
bananas. Thailand. I'm just curious. Uh,
we did
Clu,
Google it,
Clu,
but I can't remember.
let's see. Klua Ka? I'm probably
Okay,
butchering the pronunciation of that.
probably.
It translates to egg banana.
Yeah, they're like these little half-sized bananas, and they break the stem off, and she's telling Nick to feed it to the elephant, but he basically just throws it at the elephant's face.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah,
Did
that
you
was pretty
notice
funny.
that? He
I
literally
did.
just
Yeah, no, he just
takes
chucked
it
it.
and like chucks it, and
That kind
like
of felt like Nick Cage. Like was like, no one's told me what to do.
right. Nobody told me I'm gonna be sticking my hand in an elephant's mouth. And so he just kind of chucks it at the elephant. Not like enough to hurt it, but like he's just trying to like toss it in the elephant's mouth, and it just kind of hits it in the face. And the deaf woman is just laughing at him
It was
and gives
pretty
him
funny.
another one. Yeah,
Name's
but
Fawn, by the way.
yeah.
She has a name.
Um,
And the bananas are actually called, they're called Pasangawak Thai banana. That's
there
what
you
it's
go.
called. I'm not sure what the AI thought I was asking, but that's what it actually is. So apologies.
So they're on this date, and it cuts back to Kong again, and he is realizing that he's being followed
Yeah,
home
he's
from the
picked up on
drop.
this whole assassin thing
Yeah,
real
they've been
quick.
training this whole time. But yeah, he realizes he's being followed, and so he calls Nick, and Nick says, "Okay, take what's in the briefcase out, put this cell phone in it, and then throw it away." And so he does. He throws the briefcase over to some kids and goes away. But then the car that's following him has the people that are hiring him. They're curious. They want to know more about this guy so that they can kill him and tie up loose ends.
Right.
based on the assassination. So they're trying to figure out who he is because it's pretty well established early on in this movie that he doesn't meet the clients face to face. He doesn't talk to them, nothing. And so
The less everybody knows about each other, the better.
exactly. And so these kids are like fighting over the briefcase, and this one gangster guy that's like the one blonde guy in the
There's
movie,
all
a
why is
Thai
there
guy with blonde
always
hair. He goes over and slaps one of the kids.
in the back of the head?
Yeah, and he takes the briefcase. It cracked me up. Kid slapping should. I mean, it doesn't happen in those Nick Cage movies, but I just want it to be a bingo card thing because it's
Jesus
a
Christ.
hilarious term. But so yeah, so now these mobsters have this briefcase with the phone, the burner phone that he had given to Kong in it. And so keep in mind, Nick Cage is out on a date right now. Um, so they get the mobsters get back to their place and the phone starts ringing. And so they answer it, and Nick is like, do that shit again, and I'm gonna kill your wife. And then it shows his because he's having dinner with his wife at this point, and his wife has like a laser dot from a sight or like a laser sight
Mhm.
on her head, and he notices this and hangs up. And then it cuts back to Nick Cage back on the date. So I don't know if he just like was like, I got to go to the bathroom, and then he ran across town to take care of this, and then came back, or if he took the date with him and just said, "Hey, go feed that elephant over there while I assemble a gun for 8 minutes and point it at this guy." Did
I
that
think it's
seem weird
that.
to you too?
I think that's what happened. Because like he had, there's this cuteness to their relationship because, she's deaf, he doesn't know sign language, they're trying to learn how to communicate with each other. There's some cute, sweet moments in there. But he keeps kind of taking advantage of the fact that she can't hear him by like he can have this conversation. He can do, he has that fight later, right? There's all
Yeah,
these things kind of happening in the background that she's missing
because you can't hear.
because she can't hear, right? So I do think that he was like, "Hey, let's go over this way."
Yeah, probably that is probably what happened. But he's so I don't remember. I think he goes to drop her back or take her back home. And
Mhm.
is that her mom in
I
there? Is that
assumed.
what it's implied?
I
So
don't know that she's credited that way, but I assumed.
he tells
Grandmother, Fawn's
grandmother.
grandmother.
So he tells her thank you in Thai. So we got the our box of Nick Cage speaks another language.
Yeah.
Um, but we also get a scene of her telling him her name,
Mhm.
which is rain, the Thai word for rain, I assume.
Yeah.
But yeah, she says rain and teaches him how to say rain in sign language, and so he also doesn't speak in another language at that point. But that would have also I would have counted that still towards the
No, I think that counts. Yeah.
box if the Thai hadn't done it. But so then we get a scene of him like outside of the house he's in, like next to a river or something, and then a random elephant
Another elephant. Yeah.
just walks out.
I mean, I guess, they're around a lot more than they are here.
I mean, I'm sure they are, but I can't imagine that they're like wild elephants in the city.
No, but I think maybe this movie just really shows how little I know about Thailand and how I need to learn more.
Yeah, it just seemed like a random elephant, like outside of his
Well,
house.
there's a lot of symbolism here, right? Because he's got that painting in the house that Kong tells him is unlucky because of the way that the tusk is pointed,
The
right? And
trunk.
trunk,
Yeah.
yeah. And Nick turns it later, that kind of thing. Like so, there's supposed to be some key symbolism here that I think I just don't know enough about.
And they touch on it, so we're not completely in the dark, but yeah, I'm sure there is some symbolism there. Um, so then he's taking Kong with him to go take care of this third target. And their plan is to go to a very crowded river market, not
So
like
busy.
Kansas City's river market where we live. It's an actual market on a river
Hmm.
where they have like all these different boats selling produce and stuff like this. You go down the river and buy whatever you want. And Nick has a silenced gun of some kind, um, that's hidden under like some blankets or something.
Hmm.
And he's got sunglasses on, so we got to count our bingo card for that. Where's glasses?
Hey, hey.
Um, but his plan is to come up on this guy at the river market and shoot him in this crowded area,
Mhm.
which one, not how silencers work, except in movies. It's not also called a silencer,
Well,
it's called a
he's
suppressor,
lucky.
but yes. So he's getting ready to so this guy has two women with him, and of course they're all over him because all bad guys have women all over him. But he's getting ready to pull the trigger on this guy when a woman trying to sell her produce at the market, understandably, like touches the Kong and like throws the raft or the boat off balance, and so he loses the shot. And right then, the target notices the barrel pointed at him and immediately tells his guys that are with him to start, booking it, get out of there. And so then we get into a boat chase with these small little like I don't even know what kind of boats they are, but small little boats. And it turns into a shootout because Nick is shooting at him. And so there's some scenes earlier of him training Kong where he's training him to shoot,
Hmm.
and it's implied that Nick is a really good shot, but he
Yeah.
misses so much. He might as well be a stormtrooper in this scene because he can't hit shit.
It's
And the other
surprising.
guy is hitting, not hitting Nick Cage, but he's hitting things that are
Yeah.
important.
It's really shocking because they're kind of going in a straight line most of the time. It's a
Yeah, it's not
straight
that
shot,
bouncy. It's like,
you
yeah,
know.
but he can't hit anything.
Nothing.
So he goes through a full mag on whatever gun he brought. And there's the guy that he's chasing shoots like a propane tank or something next to the dock and blows it up, and that stalls their motor somehow. So then Nick is like, pull us over. And so he pulls over, and then he robs a guy at gunpoint of his dirt bike
Hmm.
and starts dirt biking right alongside this canal or river, or whatever, and trying to shoot at the guy with a different gun, a pistol,
Hmm.
and he still can't hit this guy. But then
No.
that guy shoots the gas tank of the dirt bike
More than once.
twice, and so he's running out of fuel. And I think at this point, Nick Cage jumps the
He
thing and flies and catches on the boat, and then proceeds.
the
Well, the
bike
guy,
explodes, hitting into a wall.
yeah. And when he jumps onto the boat, he grabs the boat propeller and spins around with it as the guy is bringing the gun around and lops his arm off, which is the most grotesque violence we've seen in this movie thus far. It's been pretty not violent. Like, it's
Yeah.
been violent, but not
No
gratuitous.
gore.
No gore. Yeah, not really
Yeah.
gory. But yeah, he lops off his arm with a boat propeller. And then it shows like a close up of the arm, and it's the fingers are still twitching,
Yeah.
and Nick Cage grabs the gun and shoots the guy.
A
I will
bunch of
say
times.
also, while they're in the river market area, there's like 100 people taking pictures.
Uh-huh.
And then this boat chase happens, and there's still tons of people taking pictures.
Like
So
this is
it should
2008. There were digital cameras, and people had phone cameras and
the
stuff
internet
like that.
existed.
Yeah, this
Like
this
there's for somebody that wants to be incognito, that was a
he's
weird choice to do the boat chase.
yeah.
Like, just calm down and wait a couple days and you'll be able to get your chance again somewhere. But instead, he decides to go through with this, and it's not. He breaks almost every rule, but that doesn't. He doesn't care about breaking these rules, really. He
No,
seems
not at all.
fine with it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, when they get back to the apartment or the place Nick is staying, they talk about how this guy was a bad guy, right? This guy's a bad guy, and that Nick kills bad guys, and that Kong wants to be like that. And there's this guy on TV, and the guy, Kong is like, "Now there's a good guy. That's a good guy. That's like you. You guys are basically the same. He's a good guy." He just emphasizes like 100 times,
God.
"This guy's a good guy, and this guy's like you." And so instantly, my next note was, "Good guy on TV is going to be the fourth target." Because they couldn't have made that more obvious if they tried. They were not subtle,
No.
not at all. I
I was
instantly
hopeful.
knew
I
that's
was
what it
like,
was
they're
going
not
to
gonna
be.
do that, are they? Like that's just a little too
And
that's
see,
too
I thought
much.
about not making a note about it because I was like, it's too obvious. I don't want to, admit that I was wrong if I turn out to be wrong because it's so obvious. But nope, I was right.
Oh God.
Um, So he goes on another date with this woman, and he gets attacked during the date by some of the guys. It's unclear whose guys they are. I don't know if they're
I think they're just muggers.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if it was like the guys that recognized him from the murder or if it was like the
Uh,
gangsters sent the guys after him or what.
the way
But
it's
yeah,
framed, I have to assume they're just muggers.
so while they're on this date, he's walking behind this woman and these muggers attack him. And I put this as casual murder because it was not thought out, it wasn't
Okay.
planned, and he didn't seem that excited by it. But he blasts the shit out of them, kills both of them, and she gets splattered with blood and doesn't realize it until she like scratches her shoulder and looks at her hand and got blood all over her hand. And then she turns around and sees him having gunned down these two people. And
That's it. She
she
doesn't want to see him
decides, yeah, she
anymore.
doesn't want to see him anymore. So she leaves.
She's
Uh,
freaked out. She doesn't know what happened. He has no way of really communicating what happened because he still doesn't know how to talk to her.
right. And so he goes back to his apartment and he decides to burn this piece of handcrafted elephant art on
Mhm.
his wall. That was apparently bad luck because the trunk was facing down. Well, he turned it upside down
And things
and
got
this
way worse.
happened. So he just burned it. And then yeah, Midexo's called it. Good dude is the target. Um,
I do just
I
want to. There's one thing about the relationship that I kind of want to gripe about. So she's deaf. He clearly is having a hard time talking to her.
yeah.
It's 2008. Why are they not texting each other?
Moving on. So the these gangsters are trying to figure out who Nick is. Like they want to get into him. They know that this delivery happens. They followed Kong. They know where this happens. So they decide that their best move is to grab Kong and grab the girl that he's interested in.
Well, hang on. So it's because Nick wants more money
Yes, because it's
because
a political assassination.
right, and that was not told to him ahead of time. That's supposedly a different category on the a la carte assassins menu.
Right.
And so these guys have now thought about that. And it's not so much that he wants the money that they seem fine with. It's more of just, but if he fails, they can tie all this back to us.
Yeah.
So let's cut all the
So they want to
ties.
cut all the ties. Yeah. But they were already interested in him before that, so I guess whatever. But yeah, so they're gonna kidnap these guys. So they go and kidnap Kong and his girlfriend. What
Yeah, because she's really working for the bad guys, giving the information to Kong to give to Nick.
but they know that he cares about her.
Right.
So
Yes.
um so they immediately threaten to cut her tits off.
Which that's a threat, I guess. I've never
It
heard that one
was
before.
no similar to Duck Fucker. I don't feel like we've had any tit cutting threats up to this point. It was an interesting thing. That's not probably the first that I would think you would go with, but I guess that's how they do it there. I don't know. Um, so then we get another gun assembly scene where Nick is getting ready to assassinate this good guy.
I did think
Um,
though, man, I thought that we were gonna get your new square.
okay, we'll get to that. Don't
Okay.
worry.
All right.
Don't worry, we'll get to that.
Okay.
So we get this gun assembly scene, and yeah, my note was hard on for gun assembly scenes. So I want to discuss this with you because I know you are you know some things about guns.
hmm
I don't know how much of that we want to get into, but do you know the most basic rules of gun safety?
I mean, I know at least some of them. Which one
Okay,
are
well,
you?
which ones do you know off the
Well,
top of your head? Just name a couple,
have the
like the
safety
biggest
on.
ones.
Have the safety on. Don't point the barrel at anything you don't intend to shoot.
Okay, that's the one I was really looking for.
Okay.
What does he do in this scene? Do you remember?
I guess I don't.
Okay, so he's there to kill this government official.
Right.
And he's having second thoughts because he keeps flashing back to Kong telling him that this is a good guy, that all the Thai people love him, whatever. And so immediately we see it cut to scenes of the public loving this guy, and we know that it's him through his scope doing this
Oh,
because there
yeah.
is a crosshair
Right. Yeah,
on these people's heads.
he's just gonna blow everybody's brains out.
He's literally pointing a loaded sniper rifle at like probably 20 people.
So many just
He goes from
innocent
person to
people.
person. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was blown away. Like,
Yeah.
okay, just show the people without the crosshair, and then we know that he's not pointing a loaded gun at people that are innocent. You know?
It's a good point. To me, it looked like I think in my head, I know how the shot's made. Yeah, right. I know it's not actually through a scope. It's overlaid in post. But yeah, I think the idea was supposed to be so we know this is what he is seeing. But you're right. That's stupid.
That's a terrible way to do it. This is a hitman that's literally been like his whole life is devoted to using guns and any whether it's a hitman or a hunter, they're going to tell you one of the very first rules you learn is don't point a gun loaded or first of all treat a gun
At
as
all.
loaded all the
Yeah.
time
Exactly.
and don't point a gun at anything you don't intend to kill.
Right. Yeah.
And he
No,
breaks
that's
that rule immediately.
See, it shows you that sometimes the movie stuff, sometimes they do get me. And this one got me. I was too focused on like what they're trying to make him come to the realization for, right? And I didn't think about that. So
Yeah,
that's
well, that
good.
was all that was on my mind because I've
That's
had that
good.
drilled into me since I was like 8 years old,
No,
for
that's
gun
very good.
safety. So,
Yeah.
so this was a weird scene because it shows him shooting the guy.
Yeah. They even have like we follow the bullet time
Yes,
shot.
into his head, and then it immediately shows that that was just him thinking about what would happen if he
Yeah.
shot the guy, which was the only time that's done during this movie. So it was a little distracting. I
It was
kind of
weird.
hate it when they do that because they're literally just, it's that thing that you always talk about where they want to show us something that it's not something we could have possibly known that it was a fake out
Right. Yeah. It's
because
it's
it's shown
designed
to
to
us the rest of the movie is all legit. So there's no reason for us to think that this is a fake out.
right. I don't like when a movie when the twist is just a lie.
Yeah.
I need it to be more than that,
Yeah.
you know.
So he doesn't shoot this guy.
Right.
So, but he puts all his I guess do you remember how he found out that his buddy was kidnapped?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, so that's much later because a
It's
lot of
not.
stuff. Well, yeah, a lot of stuff has to happen first because now he gets spotted in the window, right? And they start shooting at him because this is a big parade. This is like some big parade event that this guy is like going down the street in a convertible, very like JFK-ish,
Yeah.
frankly. It was the
It
vibes I was
literally looks
getting.
did you see the way it was laid out? It literally looks like they were just driving in like an oval
A
because
little
it
bit,
was like
yeah.
a courtyard that was just an
Yeah.
oval filled with people.
Yeah, yeah, no, I know,
It's
I
like,
did.
hey, let's create the perfect scenario for somebody to be assassinated.
I mean, but they did have guys, stationed and they did. They go after him. And, so he has to like, run away and he's now like chase, he grabs somebody's camera and like the Marvel hat and he's undercover and everything.
Yeah.
And then he goes back to the house and some guys break in,
Oh, that's right.
right? So he's
Because he told
upset.
them where he
Right.
because we had gotten the scene where implied that the tits were going to get cut off if they didn't tell him where Nick Cage was at. So now it's implied that he's uh he's told them where Nick Cage lives.
Yes. So yeah, so Kong's I don't want to say ratted him out. That's not necessarily fair, but did tell the bad guys where Nick is staying. And so they break into the place. And I guess earlier we saw him make these like paint can bombs or something.
Yeah.
I guess that's a thing. I don't know. I don't think I've seen that before.
No, I don't think we've really seen that in any Nick Cage movies.
And he blows the place up.
Yeah. And then he goes on the hunt. He takes one of the guys as a hostage with him, throws him in the trunk.
Yeah. I did think that
In
was
his
kind
in his Toyota Vios, apparently. because it makes sure to show the logo, which I thought was interesting for such a low budget movie because they probably didn't have permission from Toyota to
You
use
think?
this vehicle. But,
Yeah, probably not.
whatever. I doubt Toyota cares about it.
Maybe it was like
Um,
the director's car.
yeah, maybe. Uh, so then we get a scene again, okay, so the rest of the movie is basically like one action scene after another
Yeah.
at this point. And some of it is the most ridiculous stuff. These directors were really trying different things. They had specific ideas. They had clearly seen Face Off, first of all. They saw Face Off and were like, this is what we're going to do this. But they had very specific ideas of imagery in their mind that they were wanting to get to, and they had to find ways to do those images.
Mhm.
And one of those images in their mind, and this is just me assuming based on what I saw in the movie, but one of those images is Nick Cage with akimbo pistols.
Okay.
And the way that we are introduced to that, because at no point in this movie has he been shown to be accurate shooting two pistols with two hands. And in
Mhm.
reality, that's a very difficult skill.
Yeah.
He not only shoots two pistols with two hands, but our introduction to it is doing it around somebody else's neck with his wrists crossed, pointing opposite directions.
In the
With
dark.
it in the dark, with his head behind the guy.
Yeah. That's some shot.
That's the thing. So my next note was that he's a crack shot now, but he couldn't hit shit on that boat chase.
Maybe he just never practiced on a boat. It's that kind of,
He spent all his practice time shooting akimbo pistols with his wrist crossed around somebody's neck.
in dark
Also,
alleys.
that dude's hearing would have been fucked because these guns are shooting like crazy right next to his ears.
I mean, I just assumed this dude was, basically dead.
Yeah, I imagine he was unconscious or like on his way to dying
Yeah.
at this point.
I don't think that guy was meant to survive this encounter.
And
So
if he did, then he's going to be deaf probably
he
because
can go
that
date
is
Fawn.
crazy. Yeah. So we start to head into the next image in their mind that they wanted to get to. At least, like I said, in my mind, this is how it worked. But we get the water jug distraction scene. He's
Yeah.
hiding. He's hiding in a room. So this is like a hideout, right? This is like a bad guy hideout,
Yeah, it's like a
and
huge warehouse district.
right. And one of the bad guy hideout buildings is just full of jugs of water.
Uh-huh. I thought that was
And
really weird.
that's not the only weird thing, but we'll get to it. So he hides behind a big wall of empty 5-gallon water jugs. And when the guys walk in, he knocks over the jugs like the Kool-Aid man and uses the old water jug distraction technique and then kills them.
Mm-hmm.
And the next that was not the vision that the directors had, but they were like, how can we get a scene in this movie where there's water flying everywhere? Because those scenes are very cool in action movies. We want this to be a cool action movie. How do we get water everywhere?
So
And we
great.
want it to be illuminated in red because that's the color of cool and
Yeah,
blood.
man. Yeah.
So all the lights in this water jug storage facility are red, first of all. But in this water jug facility, there's rows in the middle of the room of jugs stacked up
Mm-hmm.
with paths on both sides. In what world this makes sense for a stacking pattern for the jugs, I don't know. But all these jugs are full. And so now they want this water, right? So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to have these other guys come in and they're going to hear Nick Cage and start shooting. And then he's going to start shooting back at them. But they're just going to walk going opposite directions on either side of the jugs casually while they're firing into the water jugs at each other.
Yes.
So that water goes everywhere, illuminated by red, and we get a cool water action scene.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, I'm an action guy. I'm a guy that appreciates a well done action scene. And even more so I think water action scenes are super cool. The first things that come to mind that's Thai related would be can't remember if it's Ong Bak or The Protector, one of those with Tony Jaa. There's a scene where he fights a capoeira fighter, and it's in a room that's been flooded, and so you
Mm.
get this really cool, like capoeira is like the breakdance fighting. So you get this really cool scene of like these very intricate movements that sling water in a very specific pattern. And it's very cool. It's very artsy, and it tells a story, and it's a very cool way to do a water scene. This was the opposite of that.
Damn. Harsh.
I get what they were going for, and
Yeah.
it could have been cool. But first of all, it's hard to believe that there's literally just a water jug for storage facility.
That's their day job.
And that, first of all, the stacking, like that shouldn't bother people, but why would you just stack like three rug jugs of water like next to each other just down the middle of the room?
I don't know, man.
It just doesn't make sense. So logistically, that was already a problem for me, because it was like they were like, we're gonna have a cool shootout here someday. We should just stack them like this. That's what the bad guys were thinking.
Maybe when the
Um,
light comes in, it just makes a really cool effect, and
yeah.
the guys are bored.
Um, so they go to after this shootout, he goes into the next building, which is apparently the dry cleaner of the bad guys. They have their own personal dry cleaning facility because there's a bunch of clothing hanging on racks all around it.
Mhm.
And so this is where we come into the discussion of our new square. We if you listen to Vengeance a Love Story last week, there's a phenomenon in these Nick Cage movies called the Vengeance Jacket. That's what we've titled it. That's trademark us. Okay. Um, but it's where in the third act of the movie, he puts on some sort of badass looking jacket when he's avenging or getting vengeance on somebody. He's doing some sort of killing, and this is his specific jacket for killing. So that we discovered that. I actually like completely blew Derrick's mind in the last episode, and it was an amazing experience for me.
It was great. Go
Um,
listen.
yes, go listen. But in this movie, I thought for sure there was going to be a vengeance jacket because in during the motorcycle riding scenes, he's wearing a leather jacket. In the scene up to this point, he's been wearing the least badass outfit you've ever seen. It's just like a white guy with blue jeans and a black t-shirt. And I'm like, there's no way these guys that thought of this water jug scene are going to be okay with that being his final outfit in this movie. There's just no way. So he goes into this dry cleaning facility, and I see like jackets and like clothes hanging up, and I'm like, this is it. This is where. And in my head, I said to my partner that I was watching the movie with, I said to her, I said, "This is what's going to happen. He's going to be hiding in here. He's going to see a jacket on the rack, and he's going to take it off, and he's going to go, this'll do." And he's going to put it on. And that's how he's going to finish the movie.
Like in the first Terminator.
Yes. Except better. 10 times better.
That's
And
fantastic.
so it doesn't happen.
No,
And
it
I was
doesn't.
so disappointed because he does finish the movie in the stupid outfit.
He does. He
It
does. I
was
mean,
not an action movie outfit at all.
I thought we were gonna get it earlier because he wears a leather jacket when he's gonna do the assassination. And so I was like, oh, so he's gonna switch here and he's not gonna do it. He's gonna be the good guy and he's gonna just go haul ass and kill all these dudes.
Right.
And he takes the jacket off immediately when he leaves the
Immediately.
building.
Yeah, immediately.
Damn it.
Yeah. So I think at this point, just for future discussions, our rules for Vengeance Jacket are
Yes.
third act of movie has to be doing some venging or killing in this jacket. And jacket should be made of something badass,
Right. Right.
meaning generally like an animal skin of some kind.
Leather, snake skin, something.
Maybe suede in a certain
Yeah.
context.
Right.
It just has to be a jacket that's not your normal like suit jacket or something that
Yeah.
stands out. Anyway, no vengeance jacket, and I was incredibly disappointed about that. I had it all written in my head.
I was
It
so
would have made
excited.
this movie better. but
I watched it with Ray, and Ray, I was like, Ray, this is it. This is where the vengeance jacket is, and then it doesn't happen.
yeah. And she's on board with the Vengeance jacket.
She thought it was funny.
Okay, great.
She
Okay,
also
so
pointed out the John Woo-ness of some of this towards the end,
the yes, it was very much.
just
I
with no
mean,
doves.
Face Off was probably 10-ish years before this movie, and they were definitely heavily inspired by John
Yeah.
Woo and his cinematography. I don't think they're there yet. I think that
No.
there were things that were good about the way
Yes.
this was shot, and there were good ideas. But yeah, they're not. I don't think they should be really going for that style quite yet. I think they need to develop their own and just there's good ideas there. So if you're
Well,
listening to
that's
this,
if the
directors,
Pang brothers are listening.
the Pang brothers, I think you had good ideas here, but just lean into yourself more than John Woo because
That's right.
nobody does John Woo better than John Woo.
When you don't want to copy somebody else because
And
you're
a
never
lot of
gonna.
this felt like a copy, like a knockoff copy. But John Woo uses interesting um, clothing in his movies as well. And this movie
Hmm.
didn't really get any of that. So
Yeah,
come
that's
on, if
true.
you're going to copy him, then go all the way. Give us
Go
a
all
damn
the way.
vengeance jacket. Anyway, we do get a cool scene here where there's a guy like waiting around the corner for him.
It's the blonde dude.
Yes, the blonde dude. And so he has a grenade
This was cool.
seemingly from somewhere. These gangsters just have a grenade storage facility, probably next to the water jug and dry cleaning facility.
That's
But
right.
he's like holding onto the grenade, just waiting for Nicolas Cage to come around the corner. And Nick knows he has a grenade somehow and comes around and grabs him and takes the grenade, shoves it into his pocket, lets the like little grenade trigger thing loose. And pushes him away and goes away, and the guy just blows up. My note was pocket grenade,
Well,
because
yeah, because he shoves the grenade between the guy and like this big steel door.
it was in his pocket. It was in his suit pocket.
Maybe.
Well, if it wasn't in his pocket, then that's less cool for me. But
Yeah. I'd still like the scene. The dude gets
yeah,
blown in half,
he does.
which
And
was
then we get some
unexpected.
parkour. There was multiple scenes where Nick Cage was parkouring and it was clearly a stuntman, and I was just like, if you're an Office fan, I was just going parkour,
Parkour,
parkour. Whenever he
parkour.
was doing like these flips, he actually does one that's almost exactly out of The Office, where he like jumps onto like a refrigerator box, but instead of falling through, he actually lands on it.
Right.
But I thought that was funny because that episode of The Office hadn't aired at this point, so
Right. Yeah.
but it's just a weird coincidence. Anyway, he gets to the gang leader. They're in a car, and he kills the other guy in the car. And he goes and gets in the car with the boss, with the gang leader,
As
or
cops are showing
mob
up
boss,
all
whatever.
around.
Cops are showing up.
This
And
whole scene is very strange to me.
he kills the driver, and the driver is still in the driver's seat. And apparently, the driver like accidentally hits the e-brake release or something, so the car starts rolling downhill. Well, Nick Cage has been shot at some point during this fight and is sitting in the back seat with the gun to the mob boss, pointed at the
Mhm.
mob boss. And he's like sweating really hard, and he sees there's cops around, and we see him put the gun to his head and hold the other guy's head on the opposite side of his head. And we're like, that there's no way. There's no way this is how the movie ends. Nope, that's how the
That's
movie
how it
ends.
ends.
He literally just kills himself while killing the mob boss. But no, that's actually not the end of the movie. We get a shot of Kong on a pier, just standing there as the camera goes past him with no context or
Nothing.
anything.
The girl's not
The
there.
girl's not there. He seems fine. He's wearing sunglasses. That's how the movie ends.
That's it.
It's just very abrupt and not real resolution to anything.
It's a very strange set of scenes because when he catches up to the car is like, on this like on the road facing like it's going in reverse from him when
Yeah.
he kills both the driver and then there's a guy who's next to the mob boss in the back seat. And he just stands there for a really long time as we hear sirens and stuff like that. And then after what feels like forever, they keep cutting to the cops, they keep cutting to Kong and the girl outside by the cops. And he
You
walks
think
over like he's
Kong is going to do something? 'Cause
right
it's made it to look like Kong is going to go save him
because he
or
looks
kill the
kind
guy or something.
he looks mildly concerned.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, you said Nick gets in the back of the car, and you're like, okay, so he's just gonna shoot the dude here. He wanted it to be personal, I guess. And then I started thinking, I'm like, what? Does he just have one bullet left? Is that why he thinks he has to do it this way? Like, I'm very confused
It's very
why
confusing. Yeah.
it's a murder suicide, but it is, I guess. And then, yeah, I mean, it's a very strange ending to the movie. Nothing is
Yeah.
really resolved.
Yeah. I feel like there was some stuff that was lost in the editing room based on the
Maybe
way this ended. I don't know.
it's certainly
Um,
possible. Because it's like, okay, well, Kong's not an assassin now. He would have had no way to pick up Nick's stuff, right? Like
yeah.
his contacts or anything like that. So I guess he's just back to whatever it was we found him doing, right? I guess the girl's fine. Fawn's, exactly where she was when we left when we first met her, right? She's just working at the pharmacy and she'll just never see Nick again. She has no idea what happened to him,
Right.
right? So it's a very weird and unsatisfying ending to a movie that overall I actually kind of enjoyed.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I thought it was on the better side of most of his like average movies. I think it's also worth noting that the actress that plays Fong is not actually deaf,
No, Charlie Young, yeah.
which seems to be which is something that nowadays is pretty well looked down upon, casting a abled person to play a disabled character.
That's fair.
Um, anyway, what we normally do at this point in the podcast is we read some reviews from other people and see if that sways our opinion one way or another as to whether a movie is good or bad. Derek, do you think I should start with the 10 out of 10s or the 1 out of 10s this week?
That's always tough to decide. Let's start with the 10 out of 10s.
Okay. There are 9 10 out of 10 reviews for this movie.
We don't have to read them all.
We don't have to read them all. We're not going to read them all. This one is from Donum Day. I loved it. I can watch any movie with Cage being main character. He never disappoints. This movie was perfect movie for the mood I was in. Lots of action, good actors, and Mr. Cage. Okay, I mean, it's a good review. This one is from Ali Baloo. This movie was action-packed, kept you interested from start to finish. One of the top 10 movies for that year. If you want to watch a movie that keeps you in your sit and keeps you coming back for more, it's this movie. Cage did a real good job. I think anyone who likes to see movies that are fast-paced, action-packed, it's this movie. I was surprised because the critics didn't say it was any good, but in my opinion, it was the best movies of 2008. The movie that kept you wanting to see what would happen next. If you are one of Nicolas Cage's fans, this is one of his better movies. I have seen all of them. I'm pretty sure you have not seen all of them, for what it's worth. They are all great. This one will not disappoint you. In fact, if you're saying that you've seen all of Nick Cage's movies and they're all great, I 100% don't believe you that you've seen them all. Let's see. Let's
I
do
mean, to
one
be
more.
fair, 2008 doesn't look like it was a great year for movies. So
So, I mean, yeah, that's not too big of a stretch.
it's possible. I don't know.
This one is from Max Zoom. First of all, like another poster wrote, this film deserves an 8, but I upvoted to 10 to offset the unfair low votes. This is a good and believable action film from start to finish. It is not ruined by over-the-top special effects. That's true. That's what dominates so many action movies today. I liked also that it was filmed on location in Thailand. Nicolas Cage's acting was fine. How is a depressed, antisocial loner hitman supposed to act? Also, the mute woman that Joe finds interest in is fitting. What better romantic interest for a loner antisocial man? I urge anyone to see this film and do not judge this film by the reviews. Okay.
Okay.
Now we get to the 1 out of 10s, which there's triple the amount of reviews that say 1 out of 10. Um, this one's from Mania, aka Pitbull. Let's take it in order. The script, illogical, incoherent, confusing, and confused, unprofessionally conceived and constructed, apocalyptically, I'm not going to say the word, but yes, they didn't like that part. The direction, slow, messy, chaotic, disordered, amateurish, didactic, explicit, doomsdayishly moronic. The acting, there was none. The performers were simply reciting their lines. The
Wow.
whole permanently oscillating between lethally boring and killingly grotesque. When Nick Cage comes for that tragic goodbye to his deaf and dumb Asian ad hoc sweetheart, literally all the theater was guffawing in laughter. The solution: bring together all your noisiest and rudest buddies, buy many six packs of beer, and fill up the last row in the cinema and make it rock. Wow.
Oh
Okay.
God. No,
Uh,
thank you. I hope I never
yeah,
see a movie with that person.
me too. This one is from Cinecritic 2517. I'm assuming he's going to know what he's talking about with this because his name is Cinecritic.
Oh yeah, I'm
Uh,
sure.
this is one of those rare movies where the dullness surpasses the badness. Nicolas Cage, for those who didn't notice it already, is willingly in the process of committing cinematic suicide, and with his latest entry has tightened the knot to choking level. I was never a big fan of his films, but surely they weren't all as bad as Bangkok Dangerous, a tedious, completely unbelievable film in which he plays a top-notch assassin who, for no reason to be fathomed, drops all his principles that made him one of the best in the field. Of course, it's all downhill from there, and that would include the script sequencing and ending. If I had been the executive responsible for greenlighting this film, I would have buried the finished product in a deep hole or sent it directly to DVD. Okay. We'll do one more. This one says unwatchable. It's from B. Calman, and they say, who kidnapped the real Nick Cage and replaced him with his talentless hairpiece wearing Yahoo?
Jesus
The old talent
Christ.
from flicks such as Raising Arizona and Moonstruck is dead and buried. Cage's movies of more recent years are a true embarrassment. This cringe-inducing turd is unwatchable even by Cage's recent standards. I cannot make this warning any clearer. Do not attempt to watch this movie. It cannot be saved by any group of friends with their popcorn and beer. It is irredeemable. Cage must have just enjoyed his Thai vacation for the most part and just gone along with whatever script director would foot the bill on this one. Otherwise, I can't imagine anyone reading the script and wanting to be a part of it. I think it's worth noting that in this time period, Nick was having some financial troubles and was doing a lot of movies, and a lot of them were not great. He put his effort into every movie, though. It's nothing against him. It's just that's the facts of what was going on.
I think that's overblown a bit, right? This is 2008. It wasn't like this was the only movie he did in 2008, just for perspective. He did a lot in 2007, but National Treasure Book of Secrets is in there. Ghost Rider was the year before.
Yeah.
And then the year after, you've got Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans. Kick Ass is the year after that with The Sorcerer's Apprentice. I mean, there's not like a lot of bad stuff. I mean, Next is in here. Next is not a very good movie, right? And Knowing.
I would say for like over those few years, every like one good movie, there was probably two or three bad movies. So I understand why it left a bad taste in people's mouths. But it's funny looking back on it from 2025 and seeing people go, "Oh, he committed cinematic suicide," because he's literally done some of the most amazing work he's ever done and had a huge renaissance in the past 10 years.
I know he's done some great movies since then.
Yeah, and so yeah, these people saying that he's this is the end of his career, it seems pretty crazy. But yeah, so did any of those reviews sway you, Derek, one way or another on your rating?
I mean, the ones always kind of get to
Mean.
me a little bit,
Yeah, they're
because
mean.
they're just they seem ridiculous to
And some
me.
of them are just straight personal attacks against somebody that don't have anything in the movie. Like is he wearing a hairpiece. He was if that was a hairpiece, like I don't think he would have agreed to do the movie. He just
Yeah.
has like deep, hairline.
I yeah, it always just kind of like maybe we should never end on the ones because it's like I have to defend this movie now because it's
Yeah,
not
you don't have
nowhere
to
near
defend
that
it.
bad.
We have
Yeah.
to. We're doing our rating. We've talked about this movie for this whole time, so we've had our chance to say what we've thought about it.
Yeah.
Um, so what do we want to do first? Do we want to do caginess or do we want to do quality?
Let's start with caginess first, simply because
It's pretty low.
it's right. I feel like it
It's a
has
pretty
to
serious
be.
role for him. Yeah.
Right, and he doesn't have like a ton of big emotional opportunities, like arguably the scenes with Fawn when he's kind of stumbling a bit, maybe the scene
That's
where they're
about the
having
only
dinner.
like glimmers of caginess that we get. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was thinking like a 2 or a 3, maybe leaning towards a 3.
Yeah, I'm at a three with it. So I think
Okay,
we're on the same page with that one.
all right, so we'll put a 3 for caginess. Now for quality, um I think I'm going. I think it's better than what IMDb says. Certainly this is no masterpiece. So I think I'm just gonna double check some of our other scores here, but I think I'm gonna give it a, I'm thinking a 12 or a 13.
Show's at an 11, so we're not that far apart.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go with a 12.
Yeah, as all the there was a lot of bad stuff that we talked about, but it was still an entertaining movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah,
wouldn't call it good by any means, but we've watched a lot of movies in that like 8 to 12 range that are way more boring, it doesn't have to be a cinematic masterpiece or anything to be entertaining, and this one was entertaining. And
agreed.
that's why I'm putting it above the 10 mark, versus below the 10 mark because there's been some that were not nearly as entertaining.
I think that's fair. Yeah. So I'm gonna go with a 12. You're going with an 11. So it gives us an 11 and a half.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. I've only ever given one 11, and that is to Snowden. That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So there you go. So an 11 and a half on quality, a 3 on caginess. Now we do have to figure out which movie is going to join our Wheel O Cage and replace this film. So replacing Bangkok Dangerous, joining the wheel. Ooh, Snake Eyes.
Classic.
I've always wanted to see that one.
Nice.
Very cool. I'm excited. There's some good stuff on the wheel right now, man.
Yeah.
I am stoked. For those who don't watch the Wheel of Cage, I mean, we got some good stuff. We got Renfield, Butcher's Crossing, Face Off. We've got Raising Arizona, Ghost Rider, and now Snake Eyes, among others.
Yeah, lots of good movies. We've gone through a lot of the like mid-tier movies already, so there's a lot of pretty good ones left
Mhm.
for us to do. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
exciting.
There's some good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Well, to find out which Nicolas Cage movie we're going to talk about next time on the show, you can watch our Wheel O Cage spins that come out the week before the episode does. You can go to comingofcage.com for all of our links. You can subscribe to the show on your podcast app of choice. You can watch us on the Derrico Studios YouTube channel. The video version comes out 2 days after the audio version. So there you go. You can find us
Yeah.
at Coming of Cage on most social media platforms. There's too many to be on all of them, but we're on a few. Ryan, anything else for Bangkok Dangerous?
I mean, if you're just looking for a movie for a, lonely Saturday night, you could do worse.
There you go. You could do worse. There you have it. All right, we're the Coming of Cage podcast. I'm Derek. That's Ryan.
We'll see you next time.